BBQ Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh, should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. This show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rippey. Happy to have you. If you have often thought of jumping in on the show to contribute, either by phone or email, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Everything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, it is the third Tuesday of the new month of October, and we are racing through it, helping me get through the third Tuesday of the month in his normal first third Tuesday of the month spot. Boy, that got really convoluted really quickly. In the 14 Past segment, none other than the creator of the Barbecue Bible brand website, the associated book that really got the launch going, and pal o' mine, Steven Raichlen, Barbecue Hall of Famer as well. We're going to be talking about seasonal cooking because depending on where you live, seasons are a-changing. That's for sure. It's been the breath of hell here, one of the longest summer remaining temperatures into October in recent memory, but it is feigning quickly, and we will talk to Steven about fall weather cooking and things you might want to be considering cooking on a live fire. We may or may not have a well-crafted pumpkin take to talk about Steven with as well, so look forward to that. 35 past the hour in the first... what do I want to say? 35 past in the second. Jeepers creepers. Then, after Steven, let's try it that way. And also, third Tuesday of the month regular guests and 35 past the hour slot. And the creator of GrillGirl.com, Robyn Lindars, will be joining me. And we have a treasure trove of topics to go through. We will continue our tracking of Iguana 2019. It surfaced 2 months ago now, where Robyn unveiled on the show. I don't believe it was a topic necessarily, but offhandedly mentioned that there were these nuisance iguanas that were nuisancing wherever she is in Florida. And not only was it okay to figure out something to do with them, but it was actually encouraged to go buy a pellet gun and end their respective lives. As many as you could round up, you're able to do that. Now, being a nice human, like for me, it's like pop one and just leave it in the street or in the backyard or wherever it lay. That's where it's going to be for me. But Robyn's like, well, I'm a little nicer than most folk. And I'm not a wasteful person, so since I'm going to be coming into what could be a endless amount of iguana meat, might as well try this out. So that's what we talked about last month. She was putting recipes together, and this month we will finally talk about something she has made and consumed, and holy moly, are you in for a treat especially if you have access to iguana, which most of us don't. But if you're in middle Florida, I believe, then you are in luck, and you're going to have quite a number of recipes coming through the grillgirl.com website. So Robyn Lindars.35 passed in the first hour. Then we will move to the second hour, and we will welcome two newcomers to the show. They're the creators of the Smoke Sheet, BBQNewsletter.com, which I talk about here each and every week in the second hour. That is Sean Ludwig and Ryan Cooper, both kind of social media mavens, but they have supplemented the individual social media tags with this new newsletter, the Smoke Sheet, which has been out for a little while. And so we'll talk to those guys individually, and then we'll talk about how they paired up and why they decided to give this Smoke Sheet thing a try and how it's going. We may or may not cover some hot topics as well, because if they're journalists, then that means they have some thoughts on things that are going on in the live fire, barbecue, and grilling industry. So we'll talk to them about that as well. So there you have it, 216-220-0966. If you want to jump in via the phone, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com is the email address. Don't forget you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, and, as of today, TikTok. That's right, TikTok. 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 All the kids are on TikTok. And from my social media experts, it's going to be the new Instagram, the new Facebook, whatever. I'm just trying to be as socially accepted as possible as it relates to the show. And nobody believes me. I say this not only with peace and love, but I say this with conviction and truthfulness, because I'm not here to lie to you people. If it wasn't for the show, I would have zero social media presence. Now, it seems very hard to believe given the fact that I am fairly prolific on social media. But if you go through my social media, it isn't pictures of me, pictures of my kids, taking vacations, I'm buying a car, blah, blah, blah. It's none of that. It only has to do with show promotion, sponsor promotion, business-related things, marketing for the show. And if I didn't have the show, I would have zero social media, no Twitter, definitely no TikTok, no Facebook. Hell no. Because outside of the show, I'm just not very interesting, and nor do I care to give you my thoughts on anything. I hardly care what I think, which means you can't care what I think. Notwithstanding that, if you're into the social medias and you want to follow me on all the platforms that I'm on now, I try and keep it simple at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, now TikTok, /BBQ Central Show on the Facebook, which is where you also get a video feed of the show each and every week. So whatever you like, follow me. It's going to be, I have no idea how to use TikTok. I'm going to be singing and dancing, I guess. Maybe shooting some videos, whatever. So keep up with me. Get me to like 20 followers by the end of the show. That would be great. Now, special thanks to my pal Steve Ray of Ooltewah, Tennessee, the mega metropolis, the city that is suburban by Chattanooga. Little bit of technical difficulties last week with Meathead as he was sitting in as guest host for me as I was in New York City. But it ended up being a really great conversation with Meathead as it finished out, and the second hour was absolutely stupendous. A standalone second hour for sure. Especially liked hearing from John Falkenberry of Jealous Devil Charcoal. I was set to interview John, obviously, in my absence. That responsibility fell to Steve. He picked it up with effortless ease and conducted a really great charcoal interview with John from Jealous Devil. Jealous Devil is certainly a brand that's up and coming. A lot of people starting to get into that, and they really broke down the whole company and John's background. John's a very interesting guy. Spoke really well, brought a lot of great energy and insight. So I appreciated that. But I mostly, aside from the great interviews, I mostly appreciate Steve picking up the reins yet again in my absence, this time battling through some technical difficulties. If you think hosting the show is easy each and every week, and that I mail it in, and that I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Let me tell you, wrong. I do not do that. Steve got to find out firsthand what you have to do when the technology bugs filter in. So, job well done, Steve. And thanks. And next time I need a guest host, you are my first call as always. Now, as far as where I was, New York City for a modeling gig that my daughter Madison was booked for, kind of late notice. But we were in very late Monday, and then we had the balance all of Tuesday and the balance of Wednesday. And we were right in Midtown Manhattan, and there were 3 highlights for me. World Trade Center Memorial and seeing the new World Trade Center. Top of the Empire State Building with my Maddie, which was very cool. And then, if you can believe it, and if you follow me on social media, lunch with John Marcus at Cat's Deli. Are you kidding me? Dreams come true. Right here on the BBQ Central Show. More on that later. But thanks to John Marcus for meeting me. Like he had 50 better things to do, I would imagine. Met me for lunch. Come on. Thank you, John. That was great. We have Steven Raichlen coming up out of the break. Green Mountain Grills. Let's talk about it. 3 different models to choose from. The Jim Bowie, that's the biggest one. The Davy Crockett, that's middle of the line. And the, Daniel Boone, middle of the line. Davy Crockett is the small portable option. Now that we are through week 6 here in the NFL, perhaps it's week 7 and or 8 in college football, tailgating in full swing. If you want a great cooker to bring with you because you crave wood pellet-fired goodness, then the Davy Crockett is going to be the cooker you want to take a look at. Fits in all your trucks, vans, and SUVs. It's not charcoal, so you can probably take it pretty much in any open-air situation if you don't have access to a traditional power outlet. Don't worry, because you can plug it right into that 12-volt adapter in your car, and it powers up, and away you go. 2 lines to choose from, Classic line and a Prime line. Prime line, a little bit more money, a little bit more robust of a chassis that is built on 2 internal meat probe temperatures if you want them. Wi-Fi technology, of course, on all of the lines. A couple peek-in windows right there in the main cooking chamber, and then again on the pellet hopper. Lots of great tech there. 12-volt technology on the Prime line, both the Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone and the Davy Crockett. Davy Crockett's actually where it started way back in the day. And plus, they have a lot of other great accessories. As I always say, if you get the Daniel Boone or the Jim Bowie, make sure you get the pizza oven as well for $150 or less, depending on where you pick it up. A great supplement to just the great slow cooker that the Green Mountain Grill is. GreenMountainGrills.com is the website. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. And we are back with Steven Raichlen from BBQ Bible right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, barbecue sauces, grilling oils. All of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the competition circuit as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood and visit butcherbbq.com to stock up right now. Actually, high-level talks with Dave Bosca last night, and that's all I can say about that. Central Lights, as I had mentioned at the top, it is the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and that means it's time to do a segment with a icon in the industry, a host of TV shows, the creator of the instructor of the very popular Barbecue University cooking classes, author of the most popular barbecue and grilling book in the history of barbecue and grilling books, of course. Let's race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Steven Raichlen. Hey, Steven.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Absolutely fabulous. Always appreciate you making time for the show here. And a bunch of different topics to hit on this evening. So Let me ask you something outside of the box, though. I can't believe it, but it was last week was my first visit to Midtown Manhattan, New York. I assume you've been.
Many, many times.
Many times, of course. Well, my first time, and I didn't
Well, good
have.
for you.
I didn't have
Do you
a
like
huge.
it?
Well, let me tell you this: as a guy coming from Cleveland who has been to Chicago 5 or 6 times at this point, Chicago easily dwarfs Cleveland, no contest about it. And then to go from a Chicago knowledge base to a New York City knowledge base. New York City dwarfs Chicago. So it was sensory overload. And I was just in Midtown. I didn't really get any further west than like Times Square or Rockefeller Center or anything like that. But I wasn't there for me, per se. My middle daughter had a modeling situation going on there, so I needed to kind of stay around just in case. But I got to see 9/11 Memorial. I got to go to Cat's Deli with John Marcus, who is the creator of great barbecue television, as you know.
Yeah.
So I was able to hit that landmark, a couple other things. What's your favorite parts of New York City?
I'm a downtown guy. I love Soho. I love the Village. I love the Gramercy Park area. But you know, New York City, it's a giant megalopolis, but it's also a cluster of neighborhoods, and I love that quality about it too. It's, you know, walk 10 blocks in any direction, and it changes completely.
It seems like it would take maybe 5 lifetimes to eat through just the Midtown portion.
It would take a lot of lifetimes.
Yeah.
You bet.
No doubt. All right, so I don't know where you're at currently, Steven, but here in Cleveland, we've started to breach the fall season. Summer had quite the stranglehold here through the better part of October, and now we're starting to get a little bit more seasonal. So are you transitioning to Miami yet, or are you still up in the north?
I'm back up in Martha's Vineyard. We were in Miami over the Jewish holidays, and we're back up here, and it's 47 degrees up here. So this is winter. I mean, this would be unthinkable winter in Miami, but it is delicious. Yep. It's delicious.
All right, so this is, in essence, the fall weather that a lot of people have been waiting for when they go through these thermal cycles. So let's talk a little bit about fall harvest cooking and cooking seasonally. I know that continues to be a thing that you really like to do, is cook what's in season. So what does the fall season mean to you, and what does that bring to your live fire menu?
Well, you know, it's funny. I was at a farmer's, a big farm stand in Martha's Vineyard called Morning Glory Farm today, and I was noticing the incredible bounty of squash. I mean, they must have 8 or 9 different types of local squash.
Wow.
And I love to take acorn squash, cut it in half, and grill it cut side down on a salt slab. I mean, it's a wonderful way. Or cut acorn squash crosswise into rings and direct grill those. That's amazing. And I'm seeing some beautiful delicata squash. And I was thinking, man, it'd be so cool to cut those in half, scoop out the seeds, and fill the squash with, let's say, like a cheese, egg custard or ricotta custard, and indirect grill that with a little bit of wood smoke. Squash is definitely on my menu for the next couple weeks.
You had mentioned salt block, and I got a off-the-wall question from somebody that wanted me to ask is that something that you use regularly or is kind of in a rotation? And if you like it, like, what is it imparting flavor-wise, if anything?
Well, I do use salt blocks pretty often. In fact, I keep a salt block positioned on one of my grills all the time. I like to use it, like I said, for squash. Cut side down is great. When I'm grilling meat, I don't actually grill the meat on the salt slab, but I grill the meat and then I rest it on the salt slab. So it gets kind of a little, it's always important to rest your meat. It stays warm on the salt slab, and you get a little kind of transfer between the juices of the steak and the juices of the salt slab that are ever so tasty. Another thing I like to do with it is, I'm a big fan of chicken under a brick, what the Italians call pollo al mattone. And traditionally, you cook that chicken, it's spatchcocked, and you grill it under a brick. I like to do it under a salt slab. You just get that much more flavor. One
of the other things that is synonymous with fall, obviously you're talking about Halloween pumpkins. What about cooking pumpkins? Is pumpkin something that you're going to eat?
Well, I do eat pumpkins. I love pumpkins. And what I like to do is I like to make a pumpkin pie on the grill. And to do that, I caveman the pumpkin, that is, lay it right on the embers and char it in the skins. And that gives you this really nice smoke flavor that goes from the outside in. Then you take the pumpkin flesh, and it gets mixed with eggs and cream and pumpkin pie spices, allspice, nutmeg, mace, cinnamon. And then to cook the pumpkin pie, I indirect grill it, again with a couple of wood chips, handful of wood chips on the coals, so you're sort of smoking it. You wind up with this kind of double smoked, totally amazing pumpkin pie.
Have you ever just eaten the pumpkin meat, like cube it up and eat it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I'm doing for the new book, where you take pumpkin and you ember roast it like I described, and then you mix it with ricotta cheese, and that sort of becomes a dip or a spread for grilled bread. Really nice.
Is there a similar taste of pumpkin that you would compare it to, or is it its own flavor?
Well, it's pumpkin, but it's pumpkin sort of refracted through sort of this smoky goodness of charring the flesh on embers. So it's sort of like a pumpkin on steroids, or pumpkins, viewed through a cloud of wood smoke.
All right. Does it matter what size? Like, is a bigger one going to be, let's say, more woody and lackluster in flavor, where a smaller one might be a little more genuine? Yeah,
I like the smaller ones. I kind of go for maybe pumpkin that's sort of about that big, maybe a 3-pounder.
All right. Steven Raichlen joining us here on the show, BBQBible.com, his website, of course. One of the things that I was reading on your website recently, Steven, was 7 grilling trends according to Project Fire. Of course, Project Fire is both a book and a TV show for you. And I was interested if you could share some things that I guess, I'm assuming you learned these as you were either getting through the book or doing the TV shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, these sort of emerged from the TV shoot. And it's funny, when you plan menus, I'm not thinking like, what are the trends and how can I come up with dishes to match them? It's more like I plan the menus, and then when I step back and look at the show, I think, well, there's something interesting going here. And I kind of had something came across and governed the menu. So one, was Grilling Crosses Borders. And we did 2 shows. We did one called Tex Meets Mex and another called Chino Latino, where we looked at the kind of cross-cultural fusion. The Tex Meets Mex was obviously, Texas barbecue meets Mexican spices and chilies. And the Chino Latino kind of pays homage to, in the mid-19th century, countries like Cuba and Trinidad and Tobago imported the first wave of laborers from China and the Far East to work the plantations, replacing the slaves who had newly been liberated. And that led to sort of this fusion of Caribbean ingredients and flavors and Chinese cooking techniques and flavors. And so we explored that in the Chino Latino show. That was pretty interesting. Another trend that's big, and I'm actually kind of working on a new book on it. Grilling goes green, and it's sort of the vegetabilification, if you want to think of it that way, of grilling. But I think we're all, even diehard meat eaters, we're all grilling more vegetables and trying to, not only for health, but we're sort of showing them a lot of creativity and love, maybe, that was missing before.
Is that something that's being forced on us, do you think?
I do not think. I think it's something we're embracing voluntarily. And it's funny, I think I mentioned my next book is a book on, I call it vegetable forward grilling. It's not a vegetarian book by any stretch. But, as I tour the country like I do every spring, I mentioned the new book and kind of wanted to hear what people thought. And East and West Coast, everybody's like, yeah, I really want to see that. Texas, Kansas City, initially people kind of groan and grumble and make the sign of the cross warding off a vampire. But then after the classes, guys would come up to me and say, that's really a good idea. I don't like to admit it in public with the guys, but I want to eat more vegetables.
But so in order to remain at a high level of hypocrisy, which I love to operate in, I ask if grilling vegetables or vegetables in general is being pushed on us. But I love grilled asparagus, grilled tomatoes, grilled zucchini. It would appear to me, at least in my palate, that even if I don't like it inside, prepared traditionally or whatever that would mean to you, if you get it outside, it's kind of like one of Reichlen's rules: anything cooked inside is going to taste even better outside on the grill. It exemplifies that for vegetables.
Oh, absolutely. If you think about what's in a vegetable, right? All vegetables have a lot of sugar. Cook them over high heat on a grill, and you're caramelizing that sugar and making the vegetable sweeter. And then if you're working over a wood fire, which I love to do, or working in a smoker, you're also adding a smoky element, which again just totally changes the complexion of the vegetable. It's funny, I'm looking at my website here, and I'm looking at a dish we did for a show called Wood Fire Grilling, and they're tomatoes blistered over a hot wood fire, served on toast with sweet ricotta cheese. And I mean, this thing looks as amazing to me as any steak could.
Stephen, last time you were on the show, we talked about cilantro, and I said, some people just seem to hate it with a passion. Then you had mentioned that I think it was 30% of the population has something wrong with their mouth where it tastes like soap, and that's why they don't like it.
Correct.
Is it
I'm married to one, unfortunately.
Oh, well, there you go. Is it similar with tomatoes, or do those people just hate tomatoes?
Well, I don't know that I've ever met a person that hates a tomato.
Oh, my God. You got to come and visit my house. I'm surrounded by them. Every last one of them hates tomatoes.
No, I've yet to meet a person that, but I will come to your house someday. I don't know when, but I will.
And
we'll set them straight.
I will introduce you to 4 women who hate tomatoes with a passion, and then you will see them in person, no doubt.
Do they happen to be wives and daughters?
Yes, of course.
Ouch.
Yes. A man on an island in more ways than one. Stephen Raichlen joining us here on the show. One of the other things I mentioned in the open, we're right in the heart of football season at this point. That's obviously synonymous with tailgating. And I was wondering if you had any indispensable tools for tailgating you'd like to share.
Well, I do. Aside from the obvious long sleeve suede gloves for handling hot chimney starters, tongs, long handle spring loaded tongs for handling the food, instant read meat thermometer. But one thing that's really useful is a rib rack. Sometimes called a rib condominium, and that is a device that enables you to cook 4 racks of ribs standing upright in the space normally that would be occupied by 1 or 2 racks. So if you're really trying to pump out ribs, for your buddies at a tailgating party, rib rack is a very useful and essential tool. Another thing, this is just so goofy, but it's one of the best sellers in my Best of Barbecue line, actually, a small metal trash can, because when you're done, first of all, you put your charcoal in it, keeps it dry before you start grilling. And then second of all, when you're done grilling, you put that hot ash in a metal charcoal. You sure don't want to do that in plastic or it'll melt. It's a great way to, kind of keep your ash control under control.
Stephen, do you, I just lost my line of questioning that I was going to ask you about.
You got so emotional at the thought of that.
That trash can just absolutely blew my mind. So what about food-wise at tailgates? Are you a fan of more of the simpler dishes? I mean, you can go to some of these places and it's a full-blown blowout.
Well, I guess I'm pretty elemental. I like bratwurst, I like ribs, I like burgers, I like a steak sandwich, I like pork shoulder. Pulled pork shoulder is great because you can, prepare it ahead of time, just reheat it. But within that context, I like a little twist or spin on each of those dishes. So the bratwurst, for example, I smoke roast my bratwurst. I indirect grill them with wood smoke on the fire instead of direct grilling. I find that they stay moister, the casing gets crisper, and then you can infuse a smoke flavor that's totally astonishing. With my pork shoulder, I'm really into mustard sauces these days in the style of South Carolina. I think that just has so much flavor. Ribs, my first timer's ribs, barbecue rub to smoke, and then a sauce to finish and lacquer and sear in. That's really great. What I like to do with the ribs for tailgate is cut them up and, kind of serve them almost like finger food.
Steven, my next guest coming up is Robyn Lindars, creator of GrillGirl.com, and she's been sharing with me over the last 2 months how much iguanas have been overtaking the lands of Florida. Are you having, or have you heard of having the same issues in Miami that she's having, like up in the middle portion?
We had iguanas in our backyard. They make a big mess. There are whole industries. We hired a company that was supposed to get rid of our iguana, and I spent a lot of money, and it didn't really work. But the happy thing about iguanas is eventually they pick up and leave. So this particular iguana picked it up and left, and we are okay. By the way, when the first Spanish explorers came to the Caribbean in the wake of Columbus, and one of them, Francesco Oviedo y Valdez, who wrote about barbecue. It was the first occurrence of the word barbecue in a European printed language. The food that he identified, one of the foods he identified that absolutely horrified and freaked out the early European explorers was iguana. And apparently that was a big popular barbecue food for the Taino Indians.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is if you were having such issues with iguana, have you ever, by chance, eaten one?
Well, I haven't eaten one, knowingly at least, but I would eat an iguana, and I'm sure it would taste like chicken.
Off the top of your head, do you have a Steven Raichlen preparation that you think you'd try?
For iguana?
Yeah.
Well, thinking about that, I think I'd probably, since they're found throughout the Caribbean, I would probably, do a marinade with, would be lime juice and allspice and Scotch bonnet chilies and, maybe some, what they call a scallion, which is a wild chive. Marinate that, put it on a stick, grill it, eat it off the stick. I think it'd be amazing.
All right. Last question before I let you go tonight, Steven. Always appreciate the time. I had a listener-submitted question asking where there would be a new location for Barbecue University. I believe, or at least from what I'm hearing, that the Broadmoor time has come and gone, or no?
It is, and we will be moving to a new location, and we are finalizing that location this month, and we will announce very shortly. So if any of your listeners are interested, go up on barbecuebible.com. We'll make a big announcement about it. I promise you it's going to be fabulous.
All right, so there wasn't any class that had already been being enrolled at the Colorado location that you're having to roll back at this point?
No, we are moving locations, bigger and better.
All right, sounds good to me. It's Steven Raichlen. You find him here the third Tuesday of each and every month, barbecuebible.com, his website. Steven, always appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
You got it. There he is, Steven Raichlen. Yep. Right there. Barbecue Hall of Famer. I always mean to ask him about, so many years later, what's it mean to be in the Barbecue Hall of Fame? Because a lot of guys still don't know who's in the Barbecue Hall of Fame, I think. Slowly changing. We're trying to help. Here in this show, we're trying to help change that whole knowledge base or lack of knowledge. Did somebody not tell Steven Raichlen to go buy a pellet rifle and take care of his own iguana? That seems like that would be right up his alley. Sitting up high atop the porch and then pop, pop. Taking off Iggy the iguana. Field gutting him, quickly bleeding him out. Ripping off his skin, soaking him, and then doing whatever the hell he would do. Put him on a stick, I think he said. Lime juice. Maybe there was a 5 spice in there or something along those lines. I don't know. All right, let me talk to you quickly about Southside Market and Barbecue before we get to Robyn Lindars. The Grill Girl, established in 1882. Southside is the oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They've been owned and operated by the same family for 3 generations now. Famous for the original beef sausage, which is coarse ground, but in a natural pork casing. Plus, they have authentic Central Texas barbecue as well. All meats, including the prime briskets, are smoked low and slow for many hours over real Texas post oak wood. They ship nationwide via the online store, SouthsideMarket.com, and they ship fresh and smoked sausages nationwide. Shipping customers can choose to order now and ship later. Include a custom gift note if you want. You can mail to multiple addresses without additional charges. All shipped items are vacuum sealed to ensure freshness and ease of preparation for the customer. All meats are processed in that on-site USDA-inspected facility. On-site meat markets for fresh and smoked products. Custom orders are welcome as well. If you're hungry, you can eat there, too. 2 restaurants, Elgin, Texas since 1882, and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. Plus, you have grocery distribution through Texas and many surrounding states. When you go to SouthsideMarket.com, by the way, as you're checking out, use promo code BBQ Central, all one word lowercase. I actually just gave that code out to a fan of the show yesterday who texted me and said, "What's that code for Southside?" BBQ Central, of course, all one word lowercase. Get you 10% off your entire order, so don't be afraid to shop. The more you buy, the more you save with code BBQ Central. The Grill Girl, iguanas, World Food Championships, and the list goes on. We're back right after this.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookingPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers. You visit CookingPellets.com for more information or to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com as well. What the hell? Now we're going to have a Skype issue. Now, just give me 1 second. I got to shut it down. And I got to restart it. It always seems like after the first interview, it connects fine, it runs fine, no issues. And then as soon as I hang up with the first guest, every time I try and go back to the second guest and third and, whatever, doesn't work. Now, here we go. Okay? Yeah, right. Anyway, my next guest is also found here on the third Tuesday of each and every month. She is the creator of GrillGirl.com, and we race to the hotline and welcome back friend of show, Robyn Lindars. Hey, Robyn.
Hey, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to you. Thanks for joining me as always. You look like you're...
What?
Are you back in your old house?
No.
It looks very familiar for some reason. Maybe I've just grown accustomed to the new house now being the old house.
Yeah. Now I don't have to have an office and a guest room together. I can have my own office and not have to share.
Very productive and efficient. We like that.
I know. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Well, I was just talking with Steven Raichlen. By the way, we're talking with Robyn Lindars from GrillGirl.com, at GrillGirlRobyn on the Instagrams if you're so inclined. Do you do TikTok, Robyn? I just signed up for TikTok.
I did because Stover's telling me it's pretty awesome.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't officially yet, but I'm going to. It's on my to-do list.
All right. Well, I already have 2 followers, so guess what? I'm better than you. Right now, I'm better than you. All right, here we go. I'm winning. So I was just talking with Steven Raichlen, and I said, hey, Steven, you're in Miami guy half of the year, whatever. Do you have these issues that Robyn is having with iguana? And I said, she's kind of like up in you're like a center part, right? Now you're in center part of Florida-ish?
Well, Southwest.
Southwest, all right. So he's, way south, obviously. So he said, what? We did have an iguana issue, and he hired some service to come and, trap or take care of his iguana, but he didn't end up, they didn't end up catching him. And so he didn't end up getting any, and he hasn't, of course, eaten it. It's probably one of the only things he hasn't eaten, although he did regale me with a story of one of the very first barbecue dishes ever after Columbus had come through that was like barbecued iguana, I believe, that freaked everybody out.
Nice.
But we have been tracking your progress of not only arming yourself with pellet weapons and then potentially taking them out and ultimately eating them with your iguana recipe. So, 2 months ago, you talked to us about the infestation. Then we saw your armament. Then you were talking about recipes last month. But where are we at now? Have we eaten iguana?
Yes. And truth be told, I have not harvested my own iguana yet. Supposedly near me, they have a lot of them. But it all came about because my girlfriend's killed like 16 in her backyard so far. Wow, so there are places where they go kind of gangbusters, right? And they're in South Florida. They're in Southwest Florida. They have the nuisance alligator removal guy when he came to my house, because I called him on the alligator that I wanted to get removed, which he never came out. Told me that they actually have hired someone not that far from me near Sanibel Island and that area, that his full-time job is just removing iguanas. So they've just gotten kind of out of control. And so I decided I wanted to try one because, like I mentioned, I know a lot of people that are just like killing them in their yards and then just throwing them in the garbage, like to the point where another friend or another person I know on Instagram has like a chest freezer that they keep their iguanas in until trash day comes. So I guess so you don't have like a rotting animal in your trash, right? So it sounds crazy, but yeah. So Fish and Wildlife has actually said you can get rid of them or you can hunt them on public land. You don't have to have a permit. So I befriended one of the nuisance wildlife removal guys here in my area, and he gave me the meat to cook with. And so I finally broke down and cooked it. And if you guys saw, I think it was last Monday night, I did a live stream, which was nuts. I had Hunter cooking with me, and we were just...
I don't know if Hunter was cooking with you, but he was certainly trying to take over the whole camera run. I mean, that kid's a star in the making, I guess.
I know. I feel like I'm going to be like a momager with him. He's such a ham. He loves it. We're nuts. At one point, we knocked the camera, the tripod over, and So, but anyway, I ended up trying it and frying it because, like things like if you think of like an alligator or like frog legs, I think those type of meats are always better fried. And so I just figured I would do the iguana that way too. And so I made fried iguana tacos. And if you see, I put one of my story highlights on my Instagram, but I was like blown away at how freaking good the meat is. I was just like, my mind was blown. Like I expected it to be kind of like an alligator. When you try alligator, you're like, that's okay, pretty okay, But I was like, holy shit, this meat's really good, And,
now, here's your actual reaction. Check this out.
This is an iguana leg. Can you believe it? It's delicious. Who knew?
There you go. That was you giving a real synopsis. Who knew? Mind blown. Mind blown.
No.
Wow.
And so I have one more iguana in my freezer. And so in South America, I think it's pretty common to eat them. Now, so I've had people on Instagram from like some of my South American friends tell me it's very common to eat them. And they make them in this like stew, like a coconut milk broth stew with some kind of peppers. And so one of my friends sent me the recipe. Of course, it was kind of in like Spanish, but translated to English. And then there was also autocorrect. So who the heck knows by the time I make the recipe if it'll be really true to form. But he called it Wiki Wachi stew. And either way, I mean, I just have to tell you, it is really good meat. I mean, honestly, like more delicate than chicken and not fishy and just very surprising. And I definitely can't wait to try more. So in the spirit of always trying new things and also just not wanting to be wasteful, right? Like if you have an invasive species and people are just killing them and putting them in the garbage, why not? and that's kind of where it came from.
So when you got the iguana, was it a carcass? Like, did you have to skin it and do all that stuff, or was it already like prepped out for you?
It had already been prepped. So my goal would be to take my little air rifle. I got a 22 caliber air rifle and eventually harvest my own. They're not overpopulated where I live, but there's definitely some neighborhoods near where I live, like Cape Coral. The wildlife guy that I got mine from, Nick. Thank you, Nick. He killed 76 in one neighborhood in one day. Like, that's just like, they're just, yeah. Oh. So I know it's kind of crazy. So, it's kind of like if you followed my blog, you know that I will cook sometimes like lionfish, which is another invasive species. Like, we have a lot of stuff that goes kind of crazy down here, with no natural predators. So just in the spirit of not wanting something to go to waste, I tried it and it's freaking delicious.
How much meat do you get? I mean, obviously it's going to depend on size, right? But I mean, did you get a couple pounds of meat out of an iguana?
The one I had was really small, and for the first recipe, I tried the small one first because I kind of wanted to practice. So it wasn't probably even a pound. That night, I also fried a bunch of fish and did like fish tacos and iguana tacos. But I mean, I've seen some big ones. The alligator guy, my new alligator removal guy, was telling me that one lady, there was an iguana so big in her backyard, she thought it was an alligator. So they can get pretty big.
Wow.
The one I had wasn't it's not a ton of meat, and there's not any fat on it, so you definitely don't want to overcook it. But I can just equate it to like a more delicate chicken. Like, when I had that iguana leg, it tasted like a chicken wing. I was blown away.
You could put buffalo wing sauce on that, and you would have a bigger version of a buffalo wing potentially.
Absolutely. And honestly, if you gave it to someone, they would not know. Like,
really?
They would not know they were eating iguana. No, they would be like, wow, this chicken is moist and delicious. It's, I definitely want to cook some more recipes and try it out.
All right.
Because
we're looking
super
forward
fun.
to that. No doubt. Grillgirl.com is the website if you want to keep up with the iguana files. And as the new things roll out, obviously you'll get updates right here on the Barbecue Central show on the third Tuesday of the month as well. Robyn Lindars is my guest. Now, transitioning out of the iguana, coming up this Saturday. I mean, we spent a lot of time on iguana, but meanwhile, you have a huge event coming up on Saturday, a little thing called the World Food Championships. So for the folks that aren't aware, if you want to tell us a little bit about World Food Championships, and then specifically like what you're taking part.
Yeah. So I've been practicing like crazy. That's what I was doing tonight before I put Hunter to bed. Just kind of one last hurrah, trying to get my dish down. But yeah, the World Food Champs is like, it's a big event, I didn't realize how big it was, but I've been hearing a lot about it recently, in the past couple of years. Walmart's a big sponsor, and it's not just barbecue. It's kind of like all different types of cooking, which I think is really cool. And it's really taking the sport of cooking and competitions and making it like a really huge event out of it. So this year it's in Dallas, and I got invited to be part of the Firewoman Challenge, which is an all charcoal, no electricity cooking event. And the rules are basically, what can you cook in 90 minutes, any protein of your choice. And it's me versus, it was originally 5 women, but now it's 4 because Tina Cannon, who's won it in the past 2 years. So I guess I should be happy that she dropped out. So it's me versus 3 other ladies. And I'm trying to remember everyone's name. It's Christina Fitzgerald, who's a total badass. She just, she owns like a barbecue restaurant in
Sugar Fire.
Yes.
Yep.
And Jackie Milligan, and there's 2 others, and I'm having a total brain fart right now. Forgive me. But the competition is steep. So I just hope to perform well. And, I have a little bit of anxiety because, when I went on Chopped like 5 years ago, and I was very earlier on in my cooking career, but also, going on national television, I just always get worried because like when I did that, that was just like whatever they throw at you, you have to do. And I had like kind of a non-recoverable error with oysters. Yep. And so I just always get a little freaked out. At least this isn't on national television. So if things don't go well, but this is something I've been rehearsing and I know the ingredients. The thing is they can throw in, supposedly they said, like a random ingredient at the last minute, which would probably be like a sponsor's ingredient or something.
And you would have to use that, right? It's not optional.
Not optional. So, but yeah, I feel confident in that. At least I'm well rehearsed, and what I'm entering in, which you'll soon find out. I've done a lot and I've practiced it. The main thing is, presentation. Something I'm working on, and things like knife skills. I'm not a professional chef. I'm a homegrown chef, and there are things that I definitely could use some brushing up on, if you will. So, but not everyone there is a professional chef either, but they're all very good competitors. So, all of you guys, wish me luck, and you're truly honored just to be part of the experience and invited and included. And my dad's coming with me, which is exciting because that's kind of our thing. We do competitions together. So he's just going to go and support me. I can't have a sous chef, so, but he'll be there, serving is a bad example. So we should have fun.
Yeah. Hurricane Eddie in full force support, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And in spirit of grillgirl.com, what I have started doing is interviewing some of my other competitors and highlighting them on my site and featuring their recipes. So the first person I have interviewed is Jackie Milligan, who's very decorated in her own right on the competitive circuit. So yeah, I'm hoping to round up all those interviews and hound everyone for interviews and hopefully have them share a recipe so that we can get learn a little bit more about other female cooks out there. I think that we're all learning that, cooking over fire is not just a guy's game anymore. And especially as you've probably seen in the past 5 years, Greg, there's definitely a lot more females getting into it. I mean, you had an 18-year-old or 17-year-old you interviewed on your show not that long ago. So it's kind of cool to see. I think also with like Instagram, people have been able to learn from each other, and all you learn about other females in the space. And I also think that the addition of pellet smoking has made grilling a lot more approachable to a lot of females. So anyway, it's exciting to see. I'm excited to be a part of the experience.
Let me ask you this, Robyn. In your opinion, because you are a woman in this industry, do you feel that women in general in this industry are supportive of each other, or do you think that there is a little bit more divisiveness than support?
I think there's divisiveness for sure. I've definitely seen a lot of that. I mean, I definitely have my great barbecue friends that I've made. Like, I'm super tight with Brooke Lewis. She's like my barbecue bestie. I've met her, but I'd say, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of divisiveness in that. It's almost like everyone wants to kind of make a name for themselves. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that we should all be lifting each other up. So I really want to make grillgirl.com really focus more on highlighting other cool females in the space, So that's really, I'd say, moving into 2020 is something I'm going to be focusing a lot more on.
When the smoke,
but unfortunately, women can be bitchy. There's one that you've had on your show before. I'm not going to name who.
Well, hold on a second. You gotta name the name if we're going to walk it out there. Come on, let's hear it.
Well, like historically, for whatever reason.
Here we go. Here's the name. Ready, set, go. What is it?
BBQ has always hated my guts.
My God, what?
Yeah, she hates me, and I barely know her. And I've always been like, I don't know what her beef is with me.
Wow.
I've heard she has beefs with other females in the space, and who the heck knows why? I don't know what the deal is. Don't really know her.
Has she said, Robyn, I hate your guts?
No, she said it to other people. We did an event together, like a catering event a long time ago together, like 3 years ago. And to everyone else, they were like, why is she here? Man, like, it was just really, and then everyone's like, what's BBQ's beef with you? And I'm like, I don't know. So yeah, but that's the point, is like, I think in the spirit of embracing all the females out there, we should, a rising tide lifts all ships, or whatever it is. So, y'all chicks out there, we got to support each other and not knock each other down. I think that's what the point is.
All right. Robyn Lindars joining me here.
Yeah, and you had to call me out, Greg. Now I'm going to next thing you know, it's going to be like, I don't want anyone trolling me on the internet.
At a rando parking lot, BBQ and Robyn Lindars fist fighting. It'll be captured on the internet in a month or less. You can book that. No doubt. I'm just kidding. That will not happen.
Well, we know who would lose that battle.
No doubt.
Kick my ass.
No doubt.
I just don't want my tire slashed or something.
We'll see what happens. So when the smoke clears on Saturday, I've been trying to get to this for like 5 minutes, but it was just too good. When the smoke clears on Saturday and you win the women's challenge, what will you win? What's the prize?
I think it's like $1,000, maybe $1,500. I don't think it's a huge cash purse, but I think it's bragging rights at the end of it, Yeah. But I'll take it. I could use the money.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't we all?
Any money, especially free money, is me. Rule number 3 of the show, by the way, if it's free, it's me, and that certainly applies to money. And we are talking with Robyn Lindars, Grill Girl. You can find her at grillgirl.com, so make sure you hit that website. Check out all the interviews she's going to do with all the other female competitors out there, World Food Championships, plus iguana recipes. Come on, at Grill Girl Robyn on the Twitter. I assume you're going to be at Grill Girl Robyn on TikTok whenever you get on that too. Yes or no?
Yeah, I gotta get on there, and I will live stream from World Food Champs, you guys. I mean, I've never been there before, so I'm going to live stream it when I get there on Friday. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'll be sharing it. And yeah, exciting stuff. And I should mention I'm doing a Flame Boss giveaway. So if you right now, and it goes through the end of October. So for all of you, my barbecue peeps out there, if you've ever used a Flame Boss, they're pretty awesome, and it will kind of babysit your cook so you can multitask. So if you sign up for my newsletter, you can be registered to win.
All right. Well, Robyn, good luck this coming Saturday, and we will get the follow up next month. Thanks so much.
Yeah, love you guys.
All right, there she is. Robyn Lindars right there. Wow-wee. Look at her. I hardly took any prodding from me at all to get her to say that name. Wow-wee. Look at her. Look, you either love that or you hate it. As a host, I love it. Of course, if anybody ever interviews me, that's something I would do. If I'm going to fish something out there, actually, I wouldn't be as coy. I would just kind of roll it out there. Not even kind of. I would roll it out there. But it took very little prodding on my part to say, hey, forget about no names, please. Names, please. Let's discard rule number 1 of the show, no names, please, and let's go right to names, please. And she threw it right down. Look at that. Is there any way that is going to trickle back to BBQ, and now we could have a steel cage match on the Barbecue Central show in 2020? I'll start promoting it. As soon as I get confirmation from the other side, we'll sell pay-per-view tickets. It's going to be the biggest pay-per-view event in barbecue wrestling history, right? Barbecue wrestling? I have that already somewhere, I think. Anyway, that is... Uh-oh. Oh, see what I did? Damn it.
Big name.
Holy moly. Oh, right. Give me a damn minute. Oh, Christ. Here we go. That's what I want. All right. I had it right the first time. Let me roll it back. Robyn Lindars is the Grill Girl. That was my last guess. Grillgirl.com is the website. At GrillGirlRobyn is her Instagram, will be her TikTok. Join TikTok. Where am I at on followers? I'm very concerned. I want 20 by the end of the show. My levels are not, my expectations are not very high. Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue says maybe Robyn and BBQ can wrestle in a giant bowl of chili beans. What's a chili bean? Is that like red beans? Pintos? Or just chili bean mix? I don't know. All right, we are going to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
This is Jennifer Palamas from Charlotte, North Carolina, and this is Barbecue Central.